Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Sam033, and welcome to Mix Up. And today, I know I said last week that I'd be talking about another deck, but since a week has passed, or 2 weeks have passed, I've realized that there's another bigger topic that has been released, which is, of course, the scans of Dragon Exalted have been revealed, and there's definitely a lot to talk about. There is 6 new EXs, there's 124 cards, not counting the secret rares. And yeah. So this set is going to be a pretty big episode, so I'm going to just, cut to the chase. So let's get to the main topic, which is Dragons Exalted. Get this thing out. No, I can't move it. See if I can go the other way. Dang it! Ah! So Dragon Exalted, it's very close by. We've already had a couple of pre-releases. The set is just so close and all the scans have been revealed that I thought it's, of course, the best time to talk about it. Now, there's so many cards I want to talk about, and I'm just going to skip right ahead to it, so this video doesn't end up being 30 minutes long, hopefully. So the first card I want to talk about is Roserade. Now, Roserade is a very interesting card. It has a really great ability called Le Parfum, odd name. It says when you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may search your deck for any one card and put it into your hand. So that is actually a pretty good ability, of course, with less resources like Junk Arm and Smeargle to be so consistent. A card like this actually seems like it could be pretty good. And with less catcher, because of Junk Arm being gone, something like this to be teched into a deck could be a little easier. And on the forums, one of the cards that's been getting a lot of hype from new set in Japan, Freezeball and Cold Player Computer Search, that lets you discard 2 cards and get one from your deck, has been getting a lot of hype. So since that one's been getting so much hype, it seems like this is also a really good effect that can be put into decks more than once, unlike Computer Search. Now call me crazy, but this next card, Maractus, actually seems like it could be a decent card. It has 90 HP again, and 2 retreat cost, standard grass stuff. Its first attack is pretty lame, but what I want to talk about is the second attack. For 1 grass and 2 colorless, it does 40 damage, and says if he has a Pokemon tool attached to him, it does 80 damage. Now, obviously being grass, he has nice type advantage over Terrakion, and with only a plus power, he can actually KO one of the new EXs we're getting from this set, which is Terrakion EX, if he has a tool attached. And it could be teched into Eel decks pretty easily, since they're probably already running Eviolite, and if you're running the Rayquaza variant, you could just run Blend Energy or Prism Energy. So if you want to put him to the deck, all you need is 1 card if you're running a version with Rayquaza in it. Now obviously he is in a 1-hit KO range of Terrakion, but if he has an Eviolite on, then he's safe. So Maractus probably won't see much play, but as a Terrakion counter, he's not actually too bad. And the next card I want to talk about is Ninetales. It's a really great fire Pokemon. It has 90 HP, 1 retreat cost, attack, and ability. The ability is very reminiscent of a card we had a couple formats ago. It's called Bright Look. Seems familiar so far. The ability states, when you play this card from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon, you may switch your opponent's active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. So basically you get a free Pokemon catcher. It's the exact same ability as Luxray GL level X, which was an amazingly popular card back in its time, but now that we have Pokemon catcher, it's not as amazingly good as it used to be. But he also has a really great attack called Hex Flame, which is for 1 fire, it does 20 damage and 50 more for each special condition on a defending Pokemon. It's a really great attack. If you use something like Amoonguss, that's 2 special conditions, that's 120 damage, plus another for poison, it's 130. It's enough to knock out basically any non-EX, except for Garchomp and such. So definitely look out for these Ninetales decks. Definitely a force to be reckoned with. Next one is Milotic. Milotic has a really nice first attack called Clear Search for 1 water energy. It says search your deck for any 3 cards and put them into your hand. Now, I said Roserade was good. This attack is just amazing. Its other attack sucks. Anyway, Clear Search is just a really amazing attack. Search for 3 cards, but obviously being a stage 1 and with Rainbow Energy out of the picture, it's harder to tech it into things. But still, if your deck runs Water Energy or the Blend Energy that has Water Energy in it, it's still a really great attack and definitely worth at least testing out. Might not be the greatest thing, but it's 3 cards. I mean, that's a rare candy, stage 2, and a switch right there. Can't complain about that. This next one, Emolga, I've already talked about it to death. For 1 colorless, it lets you switch your deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench. Really good attack for setup decks like Eels and Garchomp and whatnot. So Emolga, great card, blah 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 blah, moving on. So next on to the Psychic Pokemon, we have like 5 or something to talk about. Shedinja is the first one. It's a very interesting Pokemon in many ways. It has 60 HP, has no weakness or resistance or retreat cost, kind of like baby Pokemon. Its attack, Curse Drop, for 1 Psychic, puts 3 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon any way you want. Pretty lame attack. But its ability, Empty Shell, is very nice. It says if this Pokemon is knocked out, your opponent doesn't take any prize cards. It is just a really great ability, but obviously since it's not on a very good Pokemon, it won't be very useful. But I could see a deck with just 4/4 Shedinja and maybe Rescue Scarf that we'll be getting in this set, or Rocky Helmet to do more damage. Just try to stall out as much as possible to get like 1 or 2 prizes and then win just by time. I mean, I know it's a cheap win, but it could be an interesting one to try. Next is Drifblim. This one's a very interesting Pokemon. It has 100 HP, Dark Weakness, that's kind of a downer, retreat cost of 1, and a really nice first attack called Shadow Steel that for 1 colorless does 50 damage times the number of special energy cards in your opponent's discard pile, which is obviously a really good attack. It can be attacked into any deck that uses Enhanced Hammer, like Hammer Time, or any deck that uses attack to discard special energy, like, say, Garchomp. It also has a weakness advantage towards Mewtwo, but it's not weak to Mewtwo itself. And since it only uses 1 energy, it's a really great Mewtwo counter. And since Mewtwo uses special energy anyway, it's just a really great card. I definitely recommend trying it to any Garchomp or Hammer Time players out there. Next one is Sigilyph. I already talked about this one quite a lot, but it has a really nice ability called Safeguard that prevents all effects of attacks, including damage done to this Pokemon by Pokemon EX. The rest you can all read yourself. I've already said it 1,000,000 times. But anyway, Sigilyph, good card, good tech, good against EXs. Moving on. The next one is Garbodor. He's getting quite a lot of hype. He has 100 HP, Psychic Weakness, 3 retreat costs. Let's hope Heavy Ball can help this guy out. Awful attack, but a really great ability. It says if this Pokemon has a Pokemon tool attached to it, each player's Pokemon in play, hand, and discard pile have no abilities, except for Garbodor, obviously. So this blocks all abilities. That basically shuts down Eels, that shuts down Hydreigon, that shuts down Garchomp pretty hard too. It's just a really great ability, but with a new Tool Scrapping card come out, it can easily discard those tools, and it can also easily be captured and KO'd. So it's not absolutely amazing, but you definitely want to run a couple Tool Scrappers to take care of this guy. Next one is... What is that pose? Anyway, Gothitelle, despite its hilarious artwork, still has some other things going for it. Has 130 HP, Psychic Weakness, 2 retreat cost, and 2 pretty decent attacks. Doom Decree for 1 Psychic and 1 colorless. Says flip 2 coins, and if both are heads, the defending Pokemon is knocked out, period. So that's really great attack. Obviously, knockout EXs for 2 prizes. Prevents them from using stuff like Max Potion to heal. It's just a really great attack. Obviously, Victini is the best way to go here. And the second attack isn't awful. For a Psychic and 2 colorless, does 40 and then 20 more for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. So against Eels and Garchomp, it actually does a decent amount of damage since they have to load up their bench so much. So Gothitelle, definitely not the best card, but could be seen in one person's top 128 at regionals, maybe. Probably not though. This next one, Golurk, I don't think is amazing, but I personally really like it. It has 130 HP. Lame Dark Weakness and 4 retreat cost. He has 2 not too bad attacks. The first one, Devolution Punch, which is the better of the 2. For 1 Psychic and 2 colorless, does 60 damage, and says remove the highest stage evolution card from the depending Pokemon and put it into their hand. So this basically knocks out any stage 1 or stage 2 that evolved through Rare Candy. Hit a Eel, devolves to Tynamo, gets knocked out. You hit a Garchomp that evolved through Rare Candy, gallops the Gibble and gets knocked out. It's just decent attack, takes out those evolution decks that are coming back, but it's not too great against basics or EXs or whatever else. Second attack, Ghost Hammer, is also not too bad. For 2 Psychic and 2 colorless, does 90 damage and says that this Pokemon has no weakness next turn, which gets rid of its bad weakness and also one-hit KOs Mewtwo, but it's definitely not a great attack. So Golurk, not amazing, but if you find the right partner for it, take out those basics and EXs, it could actually be a decent deck. Alright, we're finally done with all those Psychic Pokemon. Gigalith isn't amazing, but he has some decent potential to do really high damage, and he also pairs very well with his pre-evolution, so that's always good. He has 140 HP, a grass weakness, and 4 retreat cost. For his first attack, a Revenge Cannon for 1 fighting and 2 colorless, does 10 damage. Does 10 damage more for each damage counter on each of your bench Pokemon. Just a couple attacks from, say, Landorus could add up to pretty high damage. Use it twice with the full bench, that's like 110 damage. Use it 3 times, 160. That's just can add up to a really high amount of damage. And his pre-evolution Boulder has a nice attack for the same energy cost. Does 60 damage and 10 to each of your bench Pokemon, which is obviously good, because then you just get damage on your bench Pokemon for Revenge Cannon to take effect. And again, you can also pair it with Landorus since they're both fighting. And I think it's just a really interesting attack. You get like, 60, 70 damage counters on it, and that's a really great, powerful attack. And the second attack is pretty lame. It's basically Bolt Strike, but with a higher energy cost. So Gigalith, it's not amazing, but it's Gigalith. Next is Stunfisk. This one, at first glance, seems pretty lame, but his first attack, Muddy Water, does 20 damage and 20 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, which is actually a nice, fast attacker for Terrakion decks, since they have pretty slow attackers. And it's also very good against your Eels matchup, because it can one-hit KO Dynamos and then set up KOs for whatever. So, Stunfisk, again, it's pretty bad, but it's the only fast attacker fighting decks have right now. Next we get on to our plethora of dragon types, all of them being pretty playable. I know I skipped all the dark and steel types, but they all suck. Anyway, dragon types, first we have Altaria, which has the amazing ability Fight Song that gives all your dragon Pokemon 20 more attack power. So that's just a great attack. So that's just a great ability. Of course, any dragon deck can benefit from this card. Garchomp, that I'll talk about in a sec, is its biggest partner, since it's the best attacker of the dragon types so far that can operate by itself. So Altaria, any dragon deck you have, you have to definitely consider adding this one in. And speaking of Garchomp, here we're going to talk about him now, and his pre-evolution, Gabite. Now Garchomp, of course, has 140 HP, 2 attacks, dragon weakness, of course, and 1 retreat cost. His first attack is what's been getting so much hype, Mock Cut for 1 fighting energy. Does 60 damage and says discard a special energy attached to the fighting Pokemon. I already talked about this with Driftblim. But of course, for 1 energy, that's an amazing attack. Previously, cards have been having 6 damage, 1 energy with a drawback, but this one has an upside to it. And with Altaria, that can easily get to 80, 100 damage, just like on turn 2 or turn 3. Just a really great attack for 1 energy. And his second attack, for water and a fighting, does 100 damage and discards the top 2 cards of your deck. Not as good of an attack, but it's still decent enough to take out those stage 2s that Mock Cut can't KO in 1 hit. Now, the reason I'm talking about Gabite is, of course, for his really amazing ability called Dragon Call that lets you search your deck for 1 Dragon-type Pokemon each turn. Now, this being built into the Garchomp deck already, that makes it just even more fantastic, just because you can search out, Altaria every turn and definitely get a Garchomp out by turn 3. I'm planning on doing an episode on the Garchomp deck anyway, so I'm not going to go into much more detail, but still, it's a great deck, it's powerful, and nothing can really stand in its way once it gets rolling. Next is Hydreigon. I've already talked about him, so I'm just going to go over briefly. Dark Trance lets you move your dark energy around as much as you want, which is great with Darkrai, blah 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 blah, moving on. Now let's get on to the last normal Pokemon of this review, which is Bouffalant. Something kind of odd about him is that in Japan he was a rare holo, but now he's just a straight uncommon. Seems kind of odd. Anyway, basically everything about Bouffalant is good, supposedly. He has 100 HP, fighting weakness, except for that. That's pretty bad. 2 retreat cost, which is fine. His ability, Buffer, gives him basically 20 defense automatically, which is just a great ability, kind of like Donphan Prime. With Eviolite, he can basically tank against anything and won't be one-hit KO'd by like anything. And his attack is also not too bad. For 3 colorless, does 60 damage, and since if the defending Pokemon's an EX, it does 120, which, unless you're fighting Mew EX or Shaman EX, that's not a very good number. But it basically means a 2-hit KO every single time, even if they have Eviolite. And with that great ability, you have Eviolite on it, he's just a really great tank. He'll be able to survive basically anything other than a Diddly Ho EX or Zekrom EX or whatever. But people have been hyping this because it's great EX counter, streams 2-hit KOs against them. But really, what can't do that? There's plenty of cards that can get 2 KOs on plenty of cards, so I don't think this card is great. I mean, it's good, but really, there's plenty of other cards that can get 2 KOs on EXs and be 2 KO'd back. But it can be teched into quite a lot of decks due to its colorless cost. Now on the trainers, all of which are really great, De-Evolution Spray lets you de-evolve one of your evolved Pokemon and put the highest stage into your hand, but you can't evolve again that turn with that Pokemon. So this is great for things like Ninetales and Amoonguss and Roserade. Those three are all very easy to pair with each other. There's also rogue things like with Aggron decks, and you can also use it to try to move the evolution to another Pokemon. Say you have a Garchomp with the active with some damage, you de-evolve him back into Gabite, and then you retreat to another Gabite and evolve that into Garchomp, or something. That's a pretty dumb situation you could be in, but it's still an interesting one. And De-Evolution Spray won't see wide play, but in some decks can be essential. Tool Scrapper, this one is one of my personal favorites. It says choose 2 Pokemon tools attached to Pokemon in play, yours or your opponent's, and discard them. So this is not only good for disrupting your opponent and getting rid of their great tool cards, but can also get rid of your own. Say you're using Terrakion deck, your active Terrakion is an EXP share, but you want to give him an Eviolite, you use Tool Scrapper to get rid of that, and then give him the Eviolite. So Tool Scrapper, I think this is a really great card. Will definitely be run in high copies in quite a lot of decks. Now onto the 2 tools we get. First is Giant Cape. I like its Japanese name better. Large Cloak. The effect is that the Pokemon this card is attached to gets 20 extra HP, which is great for tanking in evolution decks that can't use Eviolite. It's obviously pretty useless on basic since they have Eviolite. This is a nice card and could help you tank against quite a lot of things. Next is Rescue Scarf. It basically works in the same fashion as Rescue Energy, which is just rotated. It says if the Pokemon this card is attached to is knocked out by damage from an attack, put that Pokemon into your hand and discard all other things attached to it. So it's great to cycle through easily KOable Pokemon. Like say you attach it to an eel, then that gets KO'd, you can just drop it back down and it's easier to get it back from wherever it was. So Rescue Scarf, it's definitely a very good card. Now for the Blend Energy, both Fire, Grass, Psychic, and Dark Blend Energy, and Lightning, Water, Steel, and Fighting Energy. Basically they provide those respective energy types just for that one energy, just one at a time. I've said in the past that these cards are pretty good. It allows you to tech in things in your deck, like say you have a Fire deck. Now you can easily tech in things that are Psychic or Grass or Dark or whatever. It's definitely going to increase the tech possibilities in the format. And now onto those big, shiny, nice looking EXs. Now I'm going to go from worst to best. Let's start with Giratina. He's bad. He has 180 HP, Dragon Weakness, and 3 retreat cost. No, that's not good. Anyway, let's look at his attacks. Anyway, he has Shred, which is 1 Grass, 1 Psychic, 1 Colorless, and it does 90 damage. And says it's not affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon, which is definitely a good attack to get through things like Eviolite and 2 KO EXs every single time. Second attack, Dragon Pulse for 1 more Colorless Energy, does 130 damage and says discard the top 3 cards of your deck. Now 130 damage is a pretty good number since it can knock out things like Zekrom and Terrakion and things with 130 HP. Since Junkarm's gone, plus power would be hard to use, so things like Zekrom can't do that as easily. But the drawback is pretty large, so I don't really think Giratina will be seen in much decks. But he can also be used in Dark Hydreigon, as I've mentioned, as a tech since he uses Grass and Psychic, which are part of the same Blend Energy, so you can easily get a Shred out if you already have 2 Blend Energy out. But there is still technically hope for this card. We have found uses for basically all the EXs. We thought Kyogre was bad, that won Nationals. We thought Entei was meh, he won Nationals. Canada has won, but still Nationals. We thought Kyurem was bad, but he also won Nationals. So yeah, Giratina, maybe he's going to win Nationals, I don't know. But he's still pretty bad. And next we have Ho-Oh EX. This one has very interesting 160 HP, Water Weakness, and a Fighting Resistance. Well, look, we haven't seen that a million times. A retreat cost of 2. He has a really amazing ability called Rebirth that says once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your discard pile, you can flip a coin, and if heads, put this card onto your bench and attach 3 different basic energy cards from your discard pile to this Pokemon. So if you use Ultra Ball or Juniper to discard him as well as some energy, you can easily get him onto the field just like that. But the flip can be pretty annoying. Hopefully you'll be able to get 2 or 3 Ho-Ohs, so flips won't screw you over as much. Its attack has great synergy with his ability. Rainbow Burn for 3 colors is 20 damage and 20 more for each different type of basic energy card attached to Ho-Oh. Sadly, you can't use Blend Energy for this. but still it's a great attack. I don't think it's going to be useful in much. It can be used as kind of a donk deck or just an early pressure deck. Start with like a Molar or something, use Juniper and Ultra Ball to discard a bunch of Ho-Oh and energy, then you rebirth, get like 3 or 4 energy onto your Ho-Oh, and then just do the first turn 100 damage. But other than that, I don't see Ho-Oh being used in very many decks, and that strategy can be kind of clunky, sadly. Registeel, our next one, is actually quite an interesting Pokemon. He has 180 HP, Fire Weakness, Psychic Resistance, 4 Tree Cost, 2 attacks, 1 sucks. The first one is good for 3 colorless energy. Triple Laser does 30 damage to your opponent's Pokemon, and since he uses colorless energy, you can splash him into basically anything. You can use him in M-board decks to hit some EXs, and then use Reshiram EX to destroy those soften up EXs. You can use him in Eels for the same purpose. He's just a very splashable card. You can set up KOs with ground EX. There's just so many possibilities you can use this card for, and I think it's very interesting, definitely worth testing in quite a lot of decks. Next is Terrakion EX. He has 180 HP, Grass Weakness, and 3 Retreat Cost. It seems kind of odd. Most EXs seem to gain Retreat Cost when they become EXs, like Reshiram, Zekrom, and Kyurem. They were 2, and now they're 3. But Terrakion was 4, and now he's 3, so maybe 3 is just the magic number. He has 2 attacks. First one, Rock Tumble, does 50 damage, and for 1 fighting, 1 colorless, says this attack isn't affected by resistance with all the freaking things with fighting resistance. It's a decent attack. But his second attack is very nice, Pump Up Smash, for 2 fighting and 1 colorless, does 90 damage and attaches 2 basic energy cards from your hand to your bench Pokemon in any way you like. So I think this is a very good attack, since you can, use it on anything. It's not specifically fighting energy, and you can use them wherever you want. So you can use this, if you have the room for fighting energy and such, you can use this as an accelerator for basically any type. But of course, his best home is in fighting decks, since Tool Scrapper will be around. EXP share won't be as good, but with Pump Up Smash, you can immediately set up 2 Terrakions in the same way that you use EXP share. So the Terrakion EX, I really like this card, and will definitely make fighting decks a bigger threat. But since Darkrai will be as amazingly stupidly good as it used to be, it's not going to be much better. And Mew EX, yep, we got Mewtwo, now we got Mew. It's 120 HP, which is very awful. Weakness to Psychic, which is also awful. And 1 Retreat Cost, so not looking too great on stats so far. He has a decent attack. Replace for 1 Psychic, says move as many energy attached to Pokemon to your other Pokemon as you like. Since it's his attack, it's a very slow attack to use and won't be very useful, especially in decks that might be used in like Hydreigon and they can already move them. But in decks that can't move them, don't have Shaman anymore, this could be an interesting attack. But his ability is where he really shines, Versatile. The same ability that the old school Mew EX had. It says this Pokemon can use the attacks of any Pokemon in play, both yours and your opponent's, and you still need the necessary energy. Now, being Psychic, it's also very good against Mewtwo. You can use it in something like Empoleon, since Empoleon can't really use DCE. Think about it, you can just play down Mew EX, cheat to it, attach a Water Energy, and use Attack Command, and then most likely be able to one-hit KO Mewtwo. So it's a very good ability. You can use it in basically anything, so you don't need the right energy, and you can also use your opponent's attacks. So if you run enough blend energy, you can be able to use basically anything you want, anything on the field that's there. So Mew EX, definitely a very nice tech that can be used in almost anything. And now for the last but not least, Rayquaza EX. This one's the big, oh my god, he's so broken EX of the set. I mean, I don't think he's broken, but he's the only one that can live up to that reputation that Mewtwo and Darkrai had. He has 170 HP, a Dragon Weakness, 1 Retreat Cost, and 2 attacks. Celestial Roar for 1 colorless energy. It says discard the top 3 cards of your deck, and if any are energy, attach them to this Pokemon. So that's a pretty nice built-in acceleration. And his next attack, the one that's been really good, is Dragon Burst. It costs 1 lightning and 1 fire energy, and says you can discard either all lightning or all fire energy attached to Rayquaza, and it does 60 damage times the number of energy you discarded this way. So if you discard just 3 fire, 3 lightning energy, it's 180 damage that can knock out any EX Pokemon really easily. You can use Electric to accelerate them and Import to accelerate them. So yeah, it has really great energy acceleration backing him up. So this card I think is going to be really good, but as I said, it does have a Dragon Weakness, which means Garchomp and Hydreigon, 2 of the most hyped decks, can take it out very easily. Just 1 attack for 2 prizes. But I honestly don't think that's such a big problem. I will be doing an episode on this card, and I'll talk more about my feelings about this card there. But I do think it's a very good card and will definitely be one of the best variants of eels out there. So, of course, for the set we have 4 secret rares: Superior, Reuniclus, and Crocodile. 3 of them are meh. Reuniclus is pretty good, but the other 2 are pretty bad. But the 4th and final one is Rayquaza. Now, this one is technically not a reprint, at least in every other nation excluding Japan, and that's because in Japan, the Rayquaza from Dragon Selection came out before this set in Japan, so they made a Rayquaza shiny because I'm sure it was pretty good. It seems like a good card. But this leaves a problem because the regular Rayquaza, or any cards from Dragon Selection for that matter, are not in this set. So we have a secret rare that is playable and is not available anywhere else, and it's just awful. But anyway, let's look at his stats. He has 120 HP, Dragon Weakness, and 3 retreat cost, which again is odd how they raise his retreat cost so much for being an odd EX. I don't know. But his attacks are very good. For 1 Lightning Energy, Dragon Pulse does 40 damage and says discard the top 2 cards of your deck. It's a great turn 1 attack. You can donk Swablues, Gibbles, the Dragon type Dino, Tynamos. There's so many things that can donk, and it's just a really great attack, and obviously the side effect won't matter because, it will be the first turn. But in either other situation, it's also a decent attack, and its second attack's also not too bad. For 1 Lightning, 1 Fire, and 1 Colorless, Shred does 90 damage, and says this attack isn't affected by any effects on the defending Pokemon. So, funny thing is that he actually has the same attacks as Giratina EX, except Dragon Pulse costs 1 energy. Does 40 damage and discards 2 instead of costing 4 energy, discarding 3 and doing 130. So, yeah, Giratina EX, you're even more boring than original because of this. But anyway, this card is very good, and being a secret rare, it's very expensive. It's gone for around $80 to $100, which is freaking ridiculous. And considering the rarity of the past secret rares, we can assume this one is 1 secret rare per 3 booster boxes, and there are 4 secret rares in this set. So that's every 12 booster boxes on average, you'll get 1 Rayquaza. 1 per 12. I really hate Pokemon Company International sometimes. But it's a very great set, and it comes out August 15th, so definitely you guys should pre-order your booster boxes and go to as many pre-releases as you can, because those are still going on. And so yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying to get as many of these cards as I can from my decks, try to test out so many things with this set. Definitely really like this set, and it's definitely going to impact our metagame pretty hard. And thanks for watching this week's episode. Sorry I had to change subjects for this episode, but new set, it's always takes priority, usually. And I'm also sorry I couldn't do episode last week, but there's no way I could have recorded that. So yes, next week will be the episode that I was going to do last week, and I don't have to make a funny outro because I did that last week. So screw you guys. If you want to see an outro for this next episode, click right here because that will take you to the outro, hopefully. And also another announcement, well, not an announcement, but I actually hit 200 subscribers recently, so yeah. 4.5 years of doing this, and I finally got 200. Yep. I'm so pro at getting subscribers. So again, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Later.